The late afternoon sun dipped low over Jaipur, casting soft gold onto the dusty streets, where life moved in its usual rhythm. Rickshaws honking, vendors shouting, college students chattering under the shade of banyan trees. A black luxury car cut through the chaos silently, its windows tinted, its presence commanding. Inside sat Hridhaan Agnihotri, sharp in his tailored charcoal shirt, the sleeves rolled up just enough to show the tautness of his forearms. His hazel brown eyes were lost in distant thoughts, the same ones that had been haunting him since the Verma Agnihotri meeting. Since her. That strange storm that had erupted within him, one glance at Vidhi, and something in him had shifted. It wasn't love. No, it wasn't even desire. It was something raw, unsettling. His fingers tapped the window. That's when it happened. His gaze flicked out the window, just as his car slowed before a red light. There. A girl. Walking along the pavement. He couldn't see her face, only her back. But something about her. Her long curly brown hair danced with the wind. A white cotton palazzo suit flowed around her like air. Her silver bangles shimmered under the sun. One hand clutched a book against her chest. The other balanced a tan jola on her shoulder, loosely slung. A pair of oxidized jumkas glinted as she turned slightly, head bowed, lost in her own world. His breath hitched. Something in his chest tightened. He leaned forward, almost instinctively. But just then, the car moved. And she disappeared behind the turning corner. Gone. Unknown. Unseen. And yet, for a moment the rage inside him paused, just paused. Verma Mansion, same evening. Aavya returned home with a few books hugged to her chest. Her dupatta had dust stains from where she had helped a little girl who had fallen outside the temple stairs. Her palms smelled of incense. No one noticed her coming in. No one asked where she had been. She quietly entered her room. And smiled. Angad had sent a silly message. Angad, you seriously like poetry about broken hearts and rainstorms. Aavya, yes, they feel real. Angad, well, if you were a poem, you'd be monsoon. She chuckled softly, tucking her phone under her pillow. Agnihotri Mansion, night. Hridhaan stood on the terrace, overlooking the city lights. He didn't understand what was happening to him. First Vidhi. Now, that girl. That glimpse. He hadn't even seen her face, just her silhouette, her air, her energy. And yet, he couldn't shake it off. He took a drag from his cigarette and blew the smoke into the sky. Get your mind in place, Hridhaan, he muttered to himself. This is not you. Behind him, Sankalp joined quietly. She'll come. Huh, Hridhaan turned. The one you're waiting for. The one who will burn all your rules to ashes. Hridhaan didn't reply. Just walked away. Campus, next day. Aavya sat under the campus neem tree, notebook in hand. She was sketching a girl, curly hair, jumkas, a lost expression. Unknowingly, sketching herself. Angad plopped down beside her. You look peaceful. I saw a child smile today, she replied. It reminded me what it felt like. He didn't ask more. Instead, he took the pencil from her and drew a sun in the corner. You need more light, he whispered. Vidhi sighed. Vidhi had begun to doubt everything. Angad wasn't replying like before. He was distant, and she could feel her world crumbling beneath the pressure of the engagement her family was pushing her toward. And worst of all, she had no one to talk to. Except Aavya. Late that night, she entered Aavya's room and curled beside her. I don't know who I am anymore. Aavya ran her fingers through her sister's hair. You're allowed to be confused, Vidhi. I wish I could just disappear. Aavya paused. I know that feeling. Agnihotri Business Tower, boardroom. Hridhaan sat at the head of the table, eyes sharp, suit crisp. He was ruthless today. No one dared cross him. Not even his father. Not even Varun. Outside the glass walls, rain began to fall. And yet, his mind lingered. Not on profits, not on strategies, but on her. That girl. That half-second. That feeling. He didn't even know her name. But something told him. He would. Very soon. The rain from last night had left the campus washed and glistening in the morning sun. Leaves were greener, skis clearer, but nothing could clear the storm inside Aavya's heart. She walked slowly through the corridor of her college building, her notebook pressed against her chest, lost in thought. Her silence was her identity, her invisibility a comfort. But not for Angad. He had begun to notice the smallest changes in her. How her eyes looked a little sadder some days, how her smile seemed heavier like it was dragging unspoken things behind it. He didn't know why it mattered, but it did. He spotted her near the amphitheater, sitting alone, scribbling something in her journal. "You write a lot," he said, walking up beside her. Aavya looked up, startled. "I didn't hear you coming." "That's kind of my thing," he smiled, sitting beside her. "What do you want now? Another poem for your assignment?" She teased lightly, her tone soft as ever. He shook his head. "No, I just wanted to sit here." She blinked. "With me?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "With you." Her heart fluttered, though she didn't let it show. They sat in silence for a long while, broken only by the birdsong and occasional footsteps of students passing by. "You're always alone," Angad finally said. "Why?" Aavya closed her journal. "Because being around people doesn't guarantee being understood." He watched her for a moment, his jaw clenching slightly. "You deserve better." She turned to him. "Says who?" "Says the person who sees more in your silence than most people hear in noise." She smiled then, a real soft, fleeting smile. The kind that made Angad's chest tighten. He didn't know what this was. But it was something. And that scared him. Meanwhile, in Agnihotri mansion, Hridhaan stood by the window of his room, arms crossed, shirt sleeves rolled high as usual. His jaw was tense. His mother's voice echoed in the background, talking to some guests in the drawing room. There was too much movement in the house lately, too many discussions about alliances, weddings, and politics masked as marriage. "Hridhaan Beta," his father's voice interrupted his thoughts. Varun Agnihotri entered his room, closing the door behind him. "We need to talk." Hridhaan didn't move. "About what?" "The Verma alliance." Hridhaan turned, face expressionless. "Still on that." "They're not just any family, Hridhaan. Randhir Verma has an empire in Rajasthan. We need this merger. Politically, financially, socially. It strengthens our presence in North India." "I don't need a wife to make my business stronger," he said coldly. "You need someone to stabilize your life." Hridhaan laughed without humor. "You mean someone I can control?" Varun didn't flinch. "No, I mean someone who will bring peace to your chaos." Hridhaan's jaw tightened. "And you think she can?" "She's quiet, sweet, obedient, exactly what you need." He turned away. "I'm not ready." "You never will be," Varun said. "You've turned your emotions into enemies, but emotions don't die, they rot, and one day they explode." There was silence. "I'm just asking you to consider it. Vidhi Verma isn't a mistake." Hridhaan didn't respond. He just looked out the window again. But in his mind, a different image flickered. Long brown curls, a Jola bag, silver bangles, a girl walking alone. And he hated that he was still thinking about her. Later that evening, Sankalp's house. Sankalp and Arti welcomed Hridhaan with warmth, as always. Mithai ran to him with her little sketchbook. "Bade Chachu, look, I drew a dragon." Hridhaan crouched down and smiled faintly. "It's perfect." As Mithai ran off, Arti watched him closely. "You're quieter than usual." "He's always like this," Sankalp said, sipping tea. "He just pretends to be a machine, but we know better." "I'm fine," Hridhaan replied. "No, you're not," Sankalp leaned forward. "You're burning inside and pretending you're not." Hridhaan looked up sharply. You think life is all about power and expansion, but there's more. You need someone who belongs to you, not those women who come and go in your life. Hridhaan said nothing. Artie added softly, You deserve love too, Hridhaan. He looked away. I don't have time for fairy tales. Sankalp sighed. Then at least stop pretending you're unaffected, because the way you froze that day at the Verma house, we all saw it. Hridhaan stood up abruptly. I have work. And walked out. At Verma Mansion. Vidhi lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her heart was a mess. She missed Angad's presence, his silly texts, his easy smiles, but he had grown distant lately, ever since the alliance talks started. Maybe he was avoiding her. Maybe he never felt anything at all. She wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. So she called the only person who had ever made her feel heard. Aavya. And without a word, Aavya entered her room and sat beside her, holding her hand. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Sisters. Two broken hearts under one roof. Both were unaware that fate had already begun to twist their stories in ways they could never imagine. The campus was buzzing with energy as usual. Students rushed past each other in waves of laughter, gossip, and casual urgency. But for Vidhi Verma, the world had slowed down just a little. She stood near the entrance of the college auditorium, clutching her bag tighter than necessary. Her eyes scanned the crowd subconsciously, as if they were searching for someone even her heart didn't want to name aloud. And then she saw him. Angad Agnihotri. The same Angad who had once messaged her late at night, just to ask if she liked stargazing. The same Angad who had gone silent ever since her family met his. He was walking toward her from across the courtyard, notebook in hand, a pen stuck behind his ear, laughing lightly with a friend. But the moment his eyes fell on her, everything stopped. The laughter died on his lips. His steps faltered, and Vidhi's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't like before anymore. They weren't just two strangers who had accidentally bonded over poetry and late-night texts. Now they were two names bound in a possible marriage contract, with a third person in the picture. His brother. And the air between them felt broken. Vidhi stepped forward, her voice uncertain. Hi. Angad looked away for a second, then nodded. Hey. A pause. You've been ignoring me, she said softly. I've been busy, he replied, avoiding her gaze. She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. Right, with college, or with your brother's engagement. His jaw tensed. Vidhi. No, it's okay, she interrupted, trying to keep her tone light. You don't owe me anything. Angad finally looked at her, properly, deeply. I didn't expect this, he said. I didn't know. I didn't either. Silence again. People walked around them, talking, laughing, moving. But their world had shrunk into this one still, fragile moment. Angad, she whispered, why didn't you say anything? Because I don't know what to say, he admitted. You're going to marry my brother. And you're the boy who made me smile when I didn't know how. His lips parted, as if to speak, but no words came out. A voice called his name from the distance, a friend waving at him. He turned, grateful for the distraction, and gave her a nod before turning back to Vidhi. I should go. She nodded, her throat tight. Of course. He took a step back. Take care, Vidhi. You too, Angad. He walked away. And Vidhi stood there, blinking back the sting in her eyes. A few steps away, Aavya. Aavya had seen it all from the stone bench under the tree nearby, her favorite reading spot. She didn't mean to eavesdrop. She had simply been sitting with her book, waiting for a class to begin, when the tension in the air pulled her attention toward them. And her heart ached. Not just for Vidhi, but for Angad too. She had always sensed a sadness in him, a restlessness beneath his goofy charm, and now she understood why. He was tangled, and Vidhi was trapped. Aavya gently closed her book and stood up, heading to the library instead. Her eyes were distant, thoughtful. The world around her seemed so tangled, threads crossing over one another, pulling hearts into knots they didn't know how to untie. But not her. She was always just outside the frame. Watching. Always watching. Same day, somewhere in Udaipur. The sun was slowly setting beyond the lakes of Udaipur, casting golden light through the car window of a black BMW gliding past the old city roads. Inside sat a man, tall, sharp-jawed, dressed in crisp gray formal wear. His hazel brown eyes stared blankly outside the window, but his mind was restless. He was on a call. "I'll reach by tomorrow morning," he said in a flat, commanding tone. "Keep the board meeting ready. I want the audit files and the Jaipur market analysis." "Yes, sir," the voice on the other end replied. He cut the call without another word. Just then, the car passed by a narrow street. And out of the corner of his eye, something caught his attention. Or rather, someone. The girl, again. Walking with a book clutched to her chest, dressed in a black palazzo suit, brown curls bouncing against her back. A pair of silver bangles chimed faintly on her wrists, a Jola bag on her shoulder. He didn't see her face. But for some reason, he turned to look again. Just once. A strange tightness gripped his chest. He frowned. Why? He had never believed in signs or coincidences. Yet something about that glimpse, that nameless girl, lingered in his mind longer than it should have. He leaned back in his seat. Who was she? He murmured to himself. And without realizing, for the first time in a long, long while, something tightened in Hridhaan's chest. He didn't recognize it, but he knew he didn't like it.